All right, so first things first, let's first install MongoDB onto our local system so that we can actually start using it. So if you head over to mongodb.com and just click on Get MongoDB, then this should take you to the downloads page. And you can see that they have three options for you to choose from. Cloud, which is MongoDB Atlas, and this is what we'll explore a little bit later on when we deploy our application. But for now, we need to click on servers. And we're going to choose the free community server. And make sure that you've got your version selected as current release. The development release is kind of like the beta version, and then there's previous versions which are a little bit older, which still work just fine. But at the time when you're watching this video, the current release might no longer be 4.0.3, but I still want you to choose the current release because we will be keeping the videos up to date so that you'll be able to work with the latest versions. And then it's automatically detected that I am running on a Mac. Now we're ready to go ahead and click download. And it's not too large a file, so it should be done pretty quickly. Now if you open up your downloads folder, you should see that compressed file that we just downloaded. And this is what we'll need to get MongoDB working on our local system. So now just double click on it to extract it, and we can delete the TGZ file that we initially had. This is going to allow us to use MongoDB on our local system. Now, there's a couple more things that we have to do in order to get it to work. And if you scroll down here, you can see there's this part where it says Quick Start Guide. And there's a few things here that we still need to do in order to get set up with MongoDB. So on this page, if you scroll down a little bit, up to the point where it says Install MongoDB Community Edition manually, we've already done step 1. We've already downloaded the tarball and we've extracted the files. So now we're on to step 4. Not quite sure where it jumps from 2 to 4, but either way, now we have to ensure that the binaries are in a directory listed in your path environment variable. Okay, so this is a little bit confusing, but I'll walk you through step by step. All right, so now that we've extracted the files, we're going to open up a new terminal using Hyper, and then we're going to type sudo mv. And we're going to use this command to move our existing file currently inside our downloads folder to a location that will be in the root of our computer so that all users will be able to access it. So we're going to specify what it is that we want to move first, and then we're going to add a space, and then we're going to specify where we want to move it. And the location is going to be /user, USR, /local, /MongoDB, and this is all lowercase, and it's really important that you check that you've got that first / there before the user and that you've spelled everything correctly. Otherwise this will not work and we'll have more issues down the line. So all we did was we typed sudo move, and then we clicked and dragged the location of our current MongoDB binary. And so that's inputted that entire path in order to get to that file. Now if we hit enter, it will ask us for our password because we're using that sudo there, which is super user do. So we need admin privileges. So just go ahead and type the password that you normally use to log on to your Mac under your current username. So for me, that's Angela Yu. And then go ahead and hit enter. Now, when you're typing that password, you're not going to see any asterisks or anything move. So just make sure that you actually type it out correctly. And if you get it wrong, it'll just prompt you to type it again. And you'll just have to do that blind. But once you're done, you should get back your prompt, which is your username and the $, which means that you're ready to go for your next command. So now we're going to just check to make sure that it did get moved there. So we're going to type open /user /local /MongoDB just to open up that folder inside Finder. So we can see, oh yes, all of those files, all of those binaries have indeed been moved into a folder called MongoDB inside something called local, inside something called user. And you can see this user is actually a little bit of a light colored blue for its folder icon, and this is because it's normally hidden. So unless we were using this command, we wouldn't normally be able to navigate here. All right, so now that we've confirmed that everything has been moved correctly, the next step is to add the MongoDB binaries to something called environment variables. And this is basically this step here. And we basically need to tell our Mac when it starts up, what is the file path to access our MongoDB. In order to do this, we're going to make sure that we're in our home folder. So if you're not sure, just type cd tilde, and that will take you to your home folder, which is here. And you could also just write pwd, which is print working directory, to make sure that you are inside /users / your current username. Because it is at this location that we're going to create a new file, and this file is going to be called .bash _profile, and you're going to go ahead and hit enter. So now if we do an ls-a, you should see that file that we created just now inside the list of hidden files, and that's what that little dot means. It just means that it's a hidden file where normally if you just hit open at this location, you shouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next step is we're going to edit that file, and we're going to use a editor on the command line called vim. So we're going to say vim.bash _profile to open this file that we just created inside Vim. Now, Vim is notorious for being difficult to work with because it doesn't have a graphical user interface. It doesn't have buttons for you to click on. It just has a whole bunch of text commands. And the first thing you have to overcome to actually be able to even write anything inside Vim is figure out how you get into insert mode. Because at the moment, you might not even be able to start typing. So in order to get into the insert mode, all you have to do is hit I, and this takes you into insert mode as it's shown down here. And now we can start typing. So what we want to type in here is export path equals $path colon /user usr /local /mongodb/bin. If this is a bit painful for you to type, or you just wanted a guide on how to do this, then remember you can always head over to our blog post, which how to install MongoDB on Mac, which is linked to in the resources page. So now if you just go ahead and copy this line inside step 4, and now we just have to copy this line, and you can simply paste it into Vim if you wish. So essentially, once we've done that and we're happy with this being spelled exactly correct, and again, if you're not sure and you have any problems, then just try and paste that in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to exit insert mode, which we'll do with the escape key. And now we have the opportunity to save and exit Vim, which again is a bit tricky. We have to type colon and then WQ and then exclamation mark. And this will just save what we've currently got and quit Vim. So now when we hit enter, we should be back on our familiar command line, and our bash profile should have been edited. The next step is we're going to create a folder on our computer where we'll store all of our databases. So we're going to simply just copy this command, make directory at the root path, which is what that / means, and then create a folder called data if it doesn't exist, and inside that folder create one called db. And that p flag just makes sure that we create all of the folders that we require all in the same go, instead of creating data, then cding into data, and then creating db. So it's just a little bit of a shortcut. So we're going to go ahead and copy and paste that into our command line and hit enter. And it doesn't actually matter where you are in your command line. You can be at your home folder or you can be anywhere else, because this / that starts this line off indicates that we should go to the root or the Macintosh hard drive and then create our data folder there. now that we've created that folder there, if you wanted to just check, you can always say open /data/db, and that will open it inside our Finder. And you can see we've created 2 new folders in one go using that line there. All right, so now that we're done here, the next thing is to set permissions for that data directory so that the current user can have read and write permissions. And before we do that, you first want to know what your current username is. So it's pretty obvious if you just look at the prompt. The part before the $sign is basically your username that you want to be able to set to have read and write privileges on those new folders that we created. But if you're ever unsure, you can also just type "who am I" into the command line, and it'll tell you this is your username. So now that we've got our username, we're going to set those privileges. So we're going to write sudo to invoke our admin privileges, and then we're going to write chown, so chown, and then we're going to write our username, which is what I got here after I typed in "who am I." So for me, it's Angela Yu. And then I'm going to type the directory path that I want to own, which is going to be /data/db. So now my current user, Angela Yu, actually has read and write admin privileges to that DB folder, and I'll be able to create databases in there, read to it, write to it, etc. So now once I hit enter, it will ask me for my password again, which I'll just type in. And now we should be good to go. Now, before we test it, the first thing to do is to simply quit the terminal. And we're going to open up a new, fresh instance. And here we're going to type Mongo --version. And when we hit enter, if you get something that looks like this, where it tells you Mongo Shell version is 4.0.3, then that means that everything is all set up and you are ready to go and proceed to the next step, where we'll learn all about MongoDB. Now, if at this stage you get something like bash mongo not found, then it means that there might have been something that would have gone wrong in the steps that led to this point. So it might be worth just reviewing these steps again in the blog post and just go ahead and step by step confirm that everything's been done to the exact spelling and exact casing, and just make sure that you haven't missed out any steps as well. But if you've gotten to this stage, then well done, congratulations, you've finally managed to install MongoDB on your local system and you are ready to proceed to the next step.